Hello, I'm Penny, and today we're going to be making a lovely chocolate tiffin, which goes really well with some fruit, or you can have it just chopped up and have it with a cup of tea or nice hot drink or whatever. So this is what we're looking at. This is the chocolate tiffin as it's finished. So what we're going to do is, in this bowl, we're going to add 4 tablespoons of golden syrup. So obviously your golden syrup is a little bit easier than my golden syrup, but then I'm making this quite a bit. So we're going to have 4 tablespoons. So just a tip for you, to get the golden syrup out easily, warm your spoon with some boiling water, and then it should just drip out. That was 2, that's 3, and there's 4. So you can see it's about half a bowl here. Just let that drip down. I'm just going to scrape it off with a teaspoon. There we are. Lovely. Very messy. Try to keep it as contained as possible because it is messy. And that might be something that you might not want the children to do because it could get all over the kitchen. So the next thing we need is 125 grams 125 grams of butter or soft margarine or whatever. So I'm just going to weigh that out into the, there we are, perfect. So that's 125 grams of butter plus the syrup. And then this is going to go into my microwave for 2 minutes or less than. 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes on a medium heat because I don't want it to splash everywhere. So while that is doing its thing, we will take the biscuits, the digestive biscuits. You want a whole packet of digestive biscuits. Open those up, and you're going to put them into one of these Ziploc bags or bags. All of them. Don't eat them. Break them up a little bit so they fit in the bag. And then make sure that you seal it properly because you don't want the biscuits to escape. So I'm just going to put mine on a board because I don't want to bash my work surface. And I'm taking a rolling pin. You could take anything which is hard and you're going to bang. So it's going to take a bit of noise, but watch what happens. That's the melted butter and syrup that's not quite melted, so I'm going to put that in for another minute. It wasn't quite long enough. So it gives me a bit longer to Can you see how they're going nice and fine? I don't want them to all be really, really fine. So I don't know whether you can see, but some are really fine and some are chunky. I want them to be a bit less chunky, but as fine as that. But a mixture, because you want to have a bit of crunch in the recipe. Good way of getting rid of all your aggression as well. So if you've had a bad day, this is a good one. And let the children have a go at bashing as well, but not too violent. And just please make sure that the bag is sealed because you don't want to have biscuits all over, and you need this quantity of biscuits to go into our bowl. So I'm going to put the biscuits into the bowl now, like that. And you can see some are chunky and some are soft, nice and soft. That's great. So, and this is my golden syrup and butter. Not quite melted, but with a stir, you'll find that the butter will carry on melting. And I didn't want it to be too melted because I want to be able to do that. And then I also need to add the cocoa to this. So I'm going to add 3 heaped tablespoons of cocoa to this mixture. So 1, 2, 3. You want it really lovely and chocolatey. And later we're going to melt, when it's sort of set, you're going to melt some chocolate and drizzle it on the top. Which is again another fun thing to do, but you do need to be careful you don't get chocolate everywhere, and of course when you're melting chocolate it gets very hot, so you just have to be a little bit careful with the chocolate that you don't burn yourselves. So you can probably see how lovely and chocolatey that now looks. You've got the melted butter, which is now completely melted, this golden syrup and the cocoa all in there. Smells wonderful. Sorry, videos don't show the smells, but that is really lovely. Not quite all melted, mixed in. The cocoa's a little bit, but again that won't matter too much because we're now going to pour that into our biscuit mix, just like that. Again, be careful because this bowl is quite hot, having come out of the microwave. So maybe that's something that you just need to be a bit careful about, who's doing the pouring and who's doing the stirring. Everybody can have a go at stirring once you've got it basically done. So everything out of that lovely bowl, stick that in my sink. Now I'm using a big spatula because I quite like to use these. You could use a wooden spoon, you could just carry on using this metal spoon that we used earlier. There's a bit more golden syrup there. Right, so now the fun. So you're going to gently fold the biscuits and the melted stuff together. It's just a question of just turning it around, a bit like when we made chocolate cake. Just mix it all in. And you want to get all those biscuits completely covered with the chocolate mixture. Doesn't take very long, but of course the bigger chunkier ones are much more difficult to cover, but there's plenty of liquid still there to mix in. And just as it gets a bit more mixed in, it's a bit more difficult to turn it. But that's why you need quite a big bowl and you need a big strong arm here. You could do it with the mixer, but I think it's not really necessary. So that to me looks pretty good. So we just got one more ingredient to go in that, and it's optional. And it can be, I've put on the recipe raisins. You could put sultanas, you could put cherries, you could put cranberries, you could put marshmallows, you could put more chocolate dots, but I think actually it's chocolatey enough, particularly if you're going to be putting it. Now when I was a child growing up, we used to call this chocolate button cake. So we would make this cake, put it in a cake tin, and then get Cadbury's chocolate buttons and stick them all on the top, and it was known as the chocolate button cake, and it was often our birthday cake. Don't know why, but it was. So about 75 grams of raisins going in that. And I'm just going to fold those in again. And the more you fold it in, the more you can see that everything's being covered. So that's move that way. And then we need a fairly good quality baking tin, which is a centimetre deep, something like that. And you're going to line it with baking powder. attachment. Again, you can just clip the edges down so that it sits in very nicely, just like that. So don't forget, there's no cooking with this one, it's just literally going to be straight in like that. And then again, I'm going to do my best to pour it so you can see what I'm doing. Straight in. Like that. Get the last bits out again because we don't want to miss anything. That's why these spatulas are so good, because they do. And then, very carefully, you're going to again take the spatula and you're going to push it down as flat as you can. Get it into the edges. So there's another quite easy way of doing this. Slightly easy. Take another piece of baking parchment, put it on top, and then with your hands spread it. I quite often do it like this. It's quite an easy way to do it, and also the mixture is still quite warm, so you're not. And that's getting right into the corners. This mixture may not fill the whole tin. That doesn't matter, because it's going to be cut into little pieces afterwards. It's nearly there. So, there you have our tiffin, our chocolate tiffin, and we're going to put that in the fridge and leave that to get really, really cold, and then you can put your chocolate buttons on it, or you can put your melted chocolate, whatever you want to do, or you can just leave it plain like that. Tastes delicious. Just needs to be really cold and set, so that's going to take at least an hour to set in the fridge before you cook. You can see how glossy it is. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that one. And it's such an easy recipe. It doesn't have to be digestive biscuits. If you've got any old biscuits or broken biscuits and the children don't eat the broken biscuits, keep them in a plastic box until you've got enough to make this recipe. And then it's good fun. If you don't want to add the chocolate, you could add ginger or cinnamon or other spices, and you could add dates or chopped apricots or something like that and make it into a white one. You could do it with melted white chocolate instead of cocoa powder. There's lots of recipes that you can do. My favourite is this one, I have to say. This brings back my childhood memories. So I hope that what I'm going to be able to do today is to teach your children how to make something that they will be able to make forever. And be able to do it. You can do it, as I say, as a birthday cake. I've done it for celebration cakes. I've made it like this, got it really cold, and then I've cut it into sort of like Jenga pieces and made a sort of a Jenga cake with it as a birthday cake, and it's fun. I've had that in the fridge for most of the day, and I'm just melting some just ordinary chocolate that I'm melting down. All I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to drizzle a bit of chocolate on the top. Just give it a nice extra finish, even chocolatier. You can, if you want, if you're that way inclined. I'm just going to show a little bit. Melt more chocolate and put it on like a thin layer, which is also delicious. I tend to just drizzle it, just to give it, really just to help it finish it off. You could use white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, really any old chocolate. White chocolate looks nice because you get the different look. So you can see that's pretty easy to do. Doesn't take a minute. And try and get as much out of the bowl as you can. It's quite difficult to scrape it all out. There we are. So that's that. And then I'm going to get a large knife. I'm going to lift the paper out like this. I'm just going to tear the paper back a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And then we're going to cut some small squares. So it is very, very rich and very, very sticky. So I wouldn't cut more than perhaps, I'm just going to put them on there, this sort of size square. And you can see, when we crushed the biscuits earlier, you can see now that the biscuits have got a lovely texture in there, so you can get the crunchy bit as well as the really well grunged up bit. So there we have our tiffin. That's enough for now. And enjoy that with a cup of tea or some fruit. And the other thing I should say is this lasts, if you're lucky, really well in the fridge. And it's a great thing to just bring out when you just want a little munchie. You can cut it small, and it will last for weeks in the fridge. It may not last for weeks in your fridge if you like it, but it will last for weeks. So I hope you enjoy the chocolate tiffin, and I'll be back with some more recipes later on in August. Well, maybe not in August, you can cut